we have an Avengers Doomsday. Is this part of Kang's plan? Could Kang be returning in Avengers, fighting along with Doctor Doom? We're going to find out right now. Let's get it.
If Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, everything that is happening in these movies was still a part of He Who Remains / Kang's plan. That might be the case, according to some reports and according to something an insider recently said, specifically stating that no matter what happens in Doomsday or Secret Wars, Kang, or He Who Remains, has already won. What is going on, Cosmic Crew? Thanks for stopping by the channel today. Big, interesting report that we're going over today, along with some other Avengers Doomsday reports coming from Alex Perez at thecosmiccircus.com. They recently did a Q&A and revealed some pretty interesting things. But like I mentioned, one of the most interesting things that we have here, it's a report about He Who Remains. And I think we might actually be looping back to Kang in the new universe. And essentially, we might be starting everything all over again, except with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and everything else just in one universe. And maybe that's exactly what Kang wants. This is what he recently said to this question. Can you tease us with something you're really excited to see in Doomsday and Secret Wars that a lot of people don't know about? And Alex said, even though he's not in either movie, bummer, just right away, just want to say bummer. He Who Remains won, and we'll leave it at that. Now, there's two ways to interpret the first part of this. Even though he's not in either movie, I want Kang to be in this movie. I want at least some type of closure. And yes, I know what a lot of people say. Well, the end of Loki Season 2 kind of gave us that closure, right? The TVA is taking care of Kang variants. I want something more on-screen closure. I mean, we saw a whole entire Coliseum filled with Kangs.
Will he be with the heroes or will he be with Doom?
I want to see Doom destroy them is what I really want. But you can let me know your thoughts about that. So even though he's not in the movie or either movie, I think that could be referring to He Who Remains specifically. Like maybe He Who Remains isn't in either movie, but maybe Kang is. Or of course, he could be talking about just the character and all the variants of the character. He Who Remains, Kang, Victor Timely, Rama-Tut, Immortus, all of them, no matter what, they're just not in the movie. I think that's a bummer. I think Marvel should address it at least a little bit. Maybe they will without having him in the movie. We'll have to wait and see, but to me, that's kind of a bummer. But He Who Remains won.
I wonder if
that is very interesting.
What's the
it's
name
a
now?
very interesting point
Sylvia?
to make. And I also want to go over the next question because it gives a little bit more context, I think, to the overall plan of Kang. And then we'll get into what I believe this means and what some other people think this means as well. This question is, you've implied in the past that He Who Remains directed and manipulated the events of the sacred timeline for his benefit alone. Will Avengers Doomsday reveal that the universe we've watched on screen since Iron Man is nothing more than an elaborate fabrication / lie and not, for a lack of a better word, actually real? The closest analogy I can use here is the Maker interference with Earth 6160 in the current Ultimates comic universe. So basically, did Kang / He Who Remains really manipulate our universe? For example, the universe, the sacred timeline, could have had the X-Men in it, but he removed them. It could have had Doom, but he removed them. That's what they're referring to here. And that's what Alex said. I think you're referring to the theory / report I mentioned where the Infinity Saga was nothing more than He Who Remains' road. So we've never really seen what the original Marvel Cinematic Universe was supposed to look like. Now, with him out of the way, we're going to be in an interesting position. Mainly because when you think about it, there will be 4 canonical versions of our main MCU. The first one was the one we all knew up to Endgame, prior to Loki and prior to kind of the multiverse. Then the one after Loki, let's just say it's not a coincidence that certain things have been popping up post-Loki that don't really make a lot of sense in the context of the MCU, and I'll leave it at that. That's very interesting. Then there's the one we'll get with Doom, and then there's the one we'll get after Doom, which is very interesting, but I do think that kind of means what we get in Battleworld might be a little bit different than the actual main new universe. We'll have to wait and see on that. But The point of this all is that He Who Remains really was manipulating kind of everything that we knew before. He manipulated the sacred timeline in which all of the events, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine and the Fantastic Four, all took place in all of the movies and shows that we've watched, right? That's our universe, the one that Kang was manipulating.
Kang.
But Alex, once upon a time, did say in a report that basically one of the original ideas for the Kang Dynasty and for Avengers Secret Wars was that everything is kind of stuck in a time loop. And that's a really interesting thing to think about, because if you actually do think about it, it makes sense. So what if this all leads back to He Who Remains? What if this is all part of He Who Remains' plan? Because remember, he said reincarnation, baby. It all leads back. And then even in Loki season 2, when Loki gets to the end, he starts to time slip and he tells He Who Remains, and he's like, yeah, who do you think did that? Who do you think planned all of this? I did. I told you, reincarnation. Now, some people think he was lying, but if you think about it this way, I think it makes sense. We are getting the destruction of the multiverse. The multiversal war, essentially. And if you look at it from the perspective of the X-Men, based on everything we've heard, this is indeed a multiversal war. They have been jumping to other planets to destroy them, to save their own. It is war. And in this situation, if you're the X-Men, you go, it's them or us, and they pick us. They pick themselves. So they have been destroying planets. This is a literal war. And then, of course, Doom is waging war, and then everybody else will fight against Doom. But it's a literal war. So eventually, it's going to all basically end. And He Who Remains even said this was almost the end until he harnessed the power of Goliath and defeated everybody else and secluded the timeline. That's essentially what is about to happen. Doom is going to win. He's going to make his own universe, essentially secluding the timeline. But eventually we know we get a new universe where Doom is not in charge. We have the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers. Everybody's in this new universe. That's one universe until things start to happen that aren't supposed to happen. And then you can imagine from there, we might get branches, or other universes out there might start to collide with ours. And then all of a sudden we are in a loop. Right? We're doing everything over again. We're in a big multiversal war again. And then that could all lead back to He Who Remains. Maybe that is a part of his plan. His plan is to essentially bring it all back. And I don't know why. That's the big question. Why would he do that? I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Why would he want it all basically to come back? Maybe he could gain more power. But it seems like he had already won. Maybe he was bored. That's always an option.
Maybe he wants to challenge.
He said he was old. Maybe he comes back as a younger person with more power. I think that might be actually very plausible.
Well, my final conclusion is what Marvel should have done was do Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Kang Dynasty, Avengers Secret Wars. I would have just fit, or do Kang Dynasty first, then Doomsday, then Secret Wars. Because you can't just not mention Kang. He did all that. Did all that destruction in Loki. So Loki must mention him. Deadpool knows Kang, so will Deadpool mention Kang in Secret Wars? Or whenever he turns up. But if there is a multiverse war, we need Spider-Man, the OGs, and Deadpool, Wolverine together. That would be crazy. Would Iron Man return? It'd be cool to see him return, not for good, because they did nice with Endgame, left him like that. Like if he just comes back just for one battle, for like multiversal Iron Man or something, and that's it. But yeah. But first we got Spider-Man to see where he's at, and then it's Doomsday in December, hopefully, because we still haven't got that trailer. We've got a coffee shop thing. I don't know, but. That's all. Still waiting for the Doomsday trailer. Let's get it.